Hello, and welcome to my BrickSlopes 2023 overview. Um, BrickSlopes 2023 was quite big and quite the endeavor as well. Um, there was an additional day this year. In past years, it's only been open to the public on Friday and Saturday. Whereas this year it was open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to the public. Of course, Thursday is the VIB day, or basically prep and setup. And so I arrived, and I got there fairly early, just about when they said that the floor should open. And went to check in, and I found out that apparently my payment had not processed and my order had been placed on hold, which even the people hosting it seemed a little confused, because apparently I was the only one placed on hold. So somehow I found a way to break the system, of course. But they said that they'd get back with me, and so in the meantime I was able to set up my mocks. I brought them there in these sort of plastic bags, which you can see one of them pictured here, and they worked great for getting them to BrickSlopes. However, pulling them out of the bags was where some of them kind of fell apart a little bit, and so I had to take some time to improve, or to put those back together. But then, I got it all set up, and I went over and I talked with them, and I'm not entirely sure what had happened, but I was able to simply pay for another registration, and they just outright canceled the other one, and that worked fine. It was a little disappointing in that previously, even though, because the payment never went through, but I had put on there for the draft tickets, so I wasn't able to get the draft tickets, and unfortunately any games that I had registered for, that all got canceled out with the new registration. But I will say that they did a phenomenal job of and it wasn't I want to specify that it wasn't a sort of catered experience. No one went out of their way specifically for me to be able to do games and the drafts and stuff, but I was able to do all of those. They were very accommodating with that. I feel like I phrased that really poorly. Basically, I'm trying to say that they were very helpful, but they would have been helpful to anyone. That it wasn't simply the fact of that it was me, because I doubt that they know too much about this channel or anything like that, and I don't want to put myself on a pedestal for that. I mean, I do this casually, but through being just early and active, and through me talking with the people running things, I was able to get into both of the drafts, and I was able to do all of the games, I believe, because I did blind build, the team blind build, speed build, build in a bag, and team speed build. I think that was it. The seed part challenge. I guess I didn't do the seed part challenge, but that was more my choice. I briefly mentioned it in the BrickSlopes haul video, but basically I had a lot of the seed part, and with the situation of pulling the mocks out of the bags and having to rebuild those, I used that time when the seed part challenge would have been going on to repair my mocks, and so that was fine. But yeah, it was. I really liked a lot of the improvements that were made to this year's convention. Last year, because I could be wrong, but I don't actually think that the hall of the expo center that we were given, I don't think it was bigger than last year. However, last year they had cut off about a third of that hall for like a special guest area, whereas this year they did not do that. I'm sure they maybe found somewhere else for a special guest to go. But it was nice because it meant that we had a lot more room, which when it got really busy, I never really felt as though I was stuck. I could always navigate my way through people, even though there were a lot of people there. And when I say a lot, I do mean a lot. I'm trying to remember the numbers now. I could have sworn that they said they had somewhere around 20,000 people attend over the whole weekend, which is insane to me. But yeah, but there were a lot of people, but unlike last year, I never felt like I was getting stuck in like a line of people or anything. If I needed to move around, I felt that I had the room to do so, which was great. We also had, I'm not sure number-wise if it lines up, but it felt like double the amount of vendors. And while I believe we had one or two vendors that were just selling retail available Lego sets at $5 to $10 more than what you could go into the Lego store and buy them for, most of the vendors were not in fact doing that, which was great. As you've seen in the haul video, I bought quite a lot from various different vendors, and it was really great to see. I really hope that next year they have the same amount, if not more, vendors. But that was really cool. The swag, as they put it, I think was given out less frequently than last year, because last year I think it was each meeting they had, everyone got swagged at least once. So the opening, the keynote, and the closing, which this year they had the opening ceremony, the keynote, the closing ceremony, and then the awards ceremony. So they split closing and awards into two separate meetings because they had the extra day, and that was great. I think that actually worked out a lot better than last year. Um, However, you did get swagged a little bit less. They did make sure that everyone got swagged at least twice, technically, if you were there both times. But, I understand that happens because I think we doubled, I want to say, the number of VIBs this year as compared to last year. I could be wrong on that, but it certainly felt like there was a significant amount more than last year, which is great. You always like to see that. And yeah, opening ceremonies they did in the expo hall, which was kind of interesting. And then the rest of them they did in the little room off to the side, the VIB room. But they were all pretty cool. The keynote was one that I don't know. It wasn't my thing, I guess. The keynote was, I want to say it's Emmasaurus. Want to say that's her name. She's some YouTuber, but obviously I don't watch her content. She played a little bit of it, and it really seemed like it wasn't for me. And it was a little weird to hear her talk about intentionally getting things wrong. Such as she'll say Legos instead of Lego, which I understand that is a mistake that people can make. It just felt weird to have you openly state, yes, I know I'm making a mistake, but I'm gonna keep doing it because it gets me clicks. It's like, okay, I mean, if that's what your integrity's worth, then go ahead. I guess I can't stop you. I just, I don't know. I guess that's a thing that I've had reaffirmed for me as a fundamental belief, I guess, is that, integrity, it's a really cool thing. So one thing that people can't take from you, and yet people give it away so freely. But, at least it's not like stealing content or doing anything like that. It's a relatively harmless thing that she does, I suppose. I don't know. It was a disconnect for me, where she also talked about LAN and being in the LAN and being able to review sets, and she talked about it in such a way that it made it seem almost like the concept of a bad set or a flaw in a set that was just unheard of, that couldn't happen, which again, just a complete disconnect from where I'm at, my world. She also talked about not using terms like mock or AFOL, things that the general public isn't necessarily aware of, which I can understand the reasoning. However, she kept talking about wanting to broaden out the Lego space and bring in more people, which I kind of think if you're going to do that, then maybe if people want to enter the Lego collecting space, maybe they should do the simplest due diligence, and when they hear a term they don't understand, look it up. I mean, I know that I was there one point. I thought it was the silliest thing when I heard snot. When I heard people talking about snot techniques, I thought that was the silliest thing. but now it's just a regular part of my vernacular. You know, and I don't think that's a bad thing. You know, I think if you're gonna enter a space like with a bunch of hobby enthusiasts, you're probably gonna have to learn some of their terms. I don't think that's really a bad thing. I don't think that's too much to ask from anyone, because like, I don't know, let's say Warhammer, I guess. I don't know anything about Warhammer. Like, I know that they get miniatures and they paint them, and apparently there's a whole bunch of lore and stuff. But like, I'm sure if I wanted to get into that, I'd have to start learning some of their terms. Like, you know, I'm sure they've got special terms for like a way that they paint a miniature or whatever. But I don't know. This has kind of been a little rant on that. I guess just sort of expressing my thoughts. But I mean, last year the keynotes were, I believe they were the Castle Bros from Lego Masters Season 2. I think I only really know them from Cheesy Studios channel. I haven't watched Lego Masters, so most of what I know about Lego Masters comes from Cheesy Studios channel, which I actually got to meet Moto at this year's BrickSlopes, which was kind of neat. I mean, it wasn't, because for me, you know, I only really know him through Cheesy Studios channel, and so it wasn't like meeting a celebrity or anything. It was, you know, just meeting another avid Lego enthusiast, and yeah, it was neat. It was fun. But yeah, BrickSlopes this year I really enjoyed. I got to do like because last year I don't think I did any of the games last year. I think I got signed up for Build in a Bag, and then I think traffic stopped me from getting there in time or something. That or I just slept in. But this year I got to experience pretty much all of the games. I guess last year I did the Seed Part Challenge. But I really enjoyed all of the games. I guess I discovered that I am apparently a pretty fast builder. I really wasn't that aware, because I guess I've never thought about like timing myself on how long it takes me to build a Lego set, or like building it as fast as possible. But I mean, I guess I have a lot of experience building Lego sets, because I wasn't the fastest, but it was definitely pretty close. And the blind builds were really cool. Really, the team blind build really challenged me on how to describe things, how to describe different parts, and where they're going and stuff. So we didn't get very far on the team blind build, which was somewhat my fault, I guess, because I was describing the instructions while my teammate was building. But I don't know, it gave me a lot of pause for, because, you know, he wouldn't understand a certain step, and I'd have to try and think of like any way imaginable to try and describe what I'm looking at. Yeah, and it was really fun. It just, you know, it puts your mind in a different space that you're not necessarily used to thinking about. Yeah, I had a lot of fun at this year's BrickSlopes. I got to, which this is kind of funny going back to meeting people. I've met the narrator, or I guess more accurately, he got to meet me. He seemed pretty excited about that, and he was a pretty cool guy. Again, I don't know, it feels odd, I suppose, having someone really excited to meet me and knowing me through this channel in particular. You know, it's cool. Like, I'm glad that it happens, or has happened, I suppose. I don't know, again, this is something that I do super casually, and so, I don't know, it's an odd feeling, I suppose. I'm glad, but yeah, I got to, meet him, and a few other people, which I forget, what some of their, socials are, but, yeah, I got to meet quite a few people, particularly at the meetup, and it felt really neat to, you know, because in my, like, casual day-to-day, life, I'll mention Lego things to, like, my close personal friends, and I'll have to explain all this sort of backstory and stuff, and so meeting people at the Lego convention, we're at BrickSlopes, it feels really neat to be able to just directly exchange ideas on Lego, I guess. Your, like, base level knowledge is all relatively the same, and so the conversations you get to have about Lego get to go a bit deeper than usual, I suppose. But so yeah, it was neat meeting people. It was neat being able to look at all the vendors and get quite a few cool things. I really enjoyed playing all the games. The drafts, they were both pretty good. I think I really liked the $15 draft, which was one of the Mario sets. It was like a Peach's power-up suit of some sort. But that was a really cool, it had a lot of really neat parts in it. Whereas the $25 draft, I got a lot of, like, cool parts, but it was the Barcelona stadium, and so after a while, it felt like it was just sort of, you can get plates, or maybe bricks in dark gray, tan, or black. I don't know, I think I would have enjoyed if there had been a bit more variety in the parts in the $25 draft. I don't know, I think it would be kind of neat if maybe the $25 draft or the 15, if maybe they picked a small set with a wide variety of parts and then just bought a whole ton of those. But you know, that's more just me thinking aloud. And then let's see, what else did I want to go over? Oh, Dark Hour, of course. So Dark Hour was really neat. They tried to turn off as many lights as possible, but apparently 4 of the big lights, they stayed on even after turning off the breaker. They were on some sort of emergency power, which I suppose that's good, to stay safe. Though I don't know, there, at least as far as I recall, there wasn't a prize for Dark Hour, which was a little disappointing. But it would be neat if next year, particularly near the back of the hall, perhaps they could set up a like an area for mocks that have lights on them. I know that they separate them out by theme, and that works pretty well. But I felt really bad for, I think it was Idaho Lug, that they brought their big Pandora Avatar 2 like massive mock, and it had a whole bunch of lights, and like a whole bunch of reactive elements to blacklight. They unfortunately managed to get like right under the lights that would not turn off, and I felt really bad for them. Meanwhile, I had the Sand Green Sanctuary, which, you know, I used a lot of black lighting on that, and I was way near the back of the hall, to the point where, unfortunately, I heard a lot of people saying, like, oh, I didn't even know this was here, like, we must have passed this without seeing it, and that was a little, you know, disheartening to hear. I mean, I'm glad that they eventually saw it during the dark hour, but yeah, it was really dark over there, to the point where my black lights were a little too bright. In hindsight, I should have brought some like paper or something to dampen the brightness of the black lights, but Dark Hour was really cool. It was really neat to see a lot of people's mocks, and as you've been watching this video, I've had some B-roll going of everyone's mocks at BrickSlopes, and I really hope that you've enjoyed seeing those, and if you did, and if you've got the opportunity, I'd highly recommend coming to BrickSlopes 2024. I imagine that, we've been consistently getting bigger each year. I'd imagine that 2024 is going to be even bigger. I'm really excited, and really looking forward to BrickSlopes 2024. I know this has been kind of a bit of a ramble, but again, this is just real casual. Just wanted to make one sort of video where I put all my thoughts all my thoughts on BrickSlopes 2023, just into one video, get it all out there, and I hope that you guys enjoyed my thoughts and perspective on BrickSlopes 2023, and I'll see you at BrickSlopes 2024, hopefully. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.